In this tutorial, I'll show you how to crochet this really cute and fun checkered tote bag. The purse is 100% cotton, so it's very sturdy and it can hold a lot of weight. For the materials, you will need about 250 grams of yarn. I'm using two colors, the Lily Sugar and Cream yarn in the color green, and the Loops and Threads Classic Cotton yarn in the color Chiffon, and they're both medium weight 4 yarns. You'll also need a size 4mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, and some stitch markers or safety pins. The first step would be to create a slip knot. Take a tail of yarn and wrap it around 2 fingers and cross it over, holding it with your pinky. Insert your crochet hook in the bottom strand and grab that top strand to pull it underneath. Then turn your hook upwards, remove your fingers, and pull up to tighten. Now we will chain the width of the bag that we want. So to chain, we'll yarn over and pull the yarn through the loop on the hook, yarn over, and pull the yarn through the loop on the hook. And we'll keep doing chains until we reach the width of the bag that we want. So I'm going to stop after a multiple of 5, and then we'll chain 2 more once we're at the end. So just keep going and I will meet you once you have the width of your bag. So I did a total of 50 chains and I'm going to chain 2 more so that I have a total of 52. So there's the first one and the second one. We're going to work a double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. So that's the first chain, that's the second one, and this is the 3rd one. So yarn over, insert the crochet hook into the 3rd chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops on the hook. So that's the first double crochet, and we're going to work another double crochet in the next chain. So yarn over, insert the crochet hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So there's my 2 double crochets, and we're going to repeat adding another double crochet into the next chain. That's 3, and we'll do another double crochet in the 4th chain. And that's the 4th one. So now you can see we have 4 double crochets, and in the 5th chain we're going to change color. So grab the 2nd yarn color and have that ready by your side. And to start the color change, we're going to work a regular double crochet into the 5th chain, except we're going to stop after we pull through 2. So I'm stopping right here, and this is where I'm going to grab the 2nd yarn. So first we'll drop the color that we're working with. So I'm going to drop the white yarn, and I'll take my green yarn and I'm going to wrap it around like this onto the hook and pull that through the last 2 loops of the white. So this is what it should look like, and we're going to pick up that green yarn, the one that's attached to the ball of yarn, and take that tail and just tuck it in the back. And if you tug on this white, it can help to tighten the stitches, so that's what I'm doing here. And we're going to yarn over and work a double crochet into the 6th chain. And as I'm doing this, I'm carrying the other color over the hook, so you can see that it's over my hook. And I'm going to pull up a loop, so pull that underneath all the strands. Then we'll work a regular double crochet as normal. So now you can see that we have this green yarn attached, and I'm just tugging on that to tighten it a little more. And we're going to repeat this 4 more times. So we'll yarn over, insert into the next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And remember to carry the yarn as you're working on your double crochets. We don't want to leave that behind because then we won't be able to switch colors. So make sure you're carrying the second color of yarn as you're working on your double crochets. So I've done 3 so far in green, and I'm going to work another one. That's 4. And in our 5th double crochet, we're going to do the color change back to white. Yarn over, insert your crochet hook into the 5th chain there. Carrying that yarn, pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through 2. And now we're going to drop the green yarn. So you can bring it in the front or back. Pick up the white yarn or the second color you're working with. And tug on that green to tighten. Then we'll yarn over and pull through the 2 green loops on the hook. So now we switch back to white, and we're going to work the same pattern until the end of the row. So now I'm going to work double crochets with the white, making sure I carry the green yarn as I'm working on the stitches. So I did 1 double crochet, and I'm going to work this 4 more times in the white. And in the 5th chain, we're going to switch back to the green color. So we'll do a regular double crochet and stop after we have 2 loops remaining on the hook. We'll drop the white yarn, pick up the green yarn, and to tighten our stitches, we'll just tug a little bit on the yarn like this, and we're going to yarn over and pull through the 2 white loops that are on the hook. We'll continue this pattern of switching colors on every 5th double crochet until the end of the row. I reached the end of the row, and we're going to work the last 5 double crochets in the remaining chains. So I'm ending with my green color and just working a double crochet in each chain until I reach the last chain of the row. So that's 3. This is my 4th one. And for the last double crochet, we're going to do a regular double crochet in the 5th chain, but we're not going to switch colors. So go ahead and do a regular double crochet. And the reason for not switching colors is for odd number rows, you can see that we have a half square, and we're going to finish the other half of the square in the next row. So we want to have the same color on top. To start the next row, I'll chain 2 and turn your work. And you can see that for this row, we're starting with green, and we're going to work 5 double crochets on top of the first square. And I'm doing this in the green color to complete that other half of the square. So for odd number rows, we won't change colors, and for even number rows, we will change colors at the end. So make sure you're bringing the other yarn color as you're working on your double crochet. That's 1. 2. 3, 4, and in the 5th stitch we're going to work a double crochet and change colors. So we'll start by working a regular double crochet in the last stitch, yarn over, insert the crochet hook in the last stitch right here, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're going to drop the green yarn and pick up the white strand of yarn and pull through the 2 green loops on the hook. That completes a full square, and we're going to work 5 double crochets in the white yarn. So now we're going to work white on top of the white. Here's the first double crochet, second, third, fourth, and in the 5th stitch we're going to switch back to green. So work a double crochet and stop when you have 2 loops remaining, drop the white yarn, pick up the green yarn, yarn over, and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. That completes a white square, and we're going to repeat this pattern until the end of the row. So we'll work the same color on top of the previous row's color, and when we reach the last stitch of the row, we're going to switch back to our second color. So keep working the double crochets, remembering to switch colors on every 5th double crochet. I'm at the end of the row and I reached the final square, and I stopped after 4 stitches, and we're going to decide whether or not to switch colors in the 5th stitch. So now we have 2 rows and they form a full square. So for our next row, we want to have the opposite color on top, and this is going to start the checkered effect for our bag. So I'll have green on top of the whites and whites on top of the green. Another way to think of it is every even number row we will change colors, and the odd number rows will be the same color, so we won't change at the end. So for this row, because we finished the full square, I'm going to switch colors so that the next row is going to be green. So I'll work a double crochet in the last stitch, and with those last 2 loops we're going to take our green yarn and pull that through the loops on the hook. So now when we start this next row, our green square is going to be on top. To start the next row, we'll chain 2, turn your work, and we're going to work the same pattern of 5 double crochets and switching colors on the 5th double crochet. So make sure you're carrying over the second color and put that over the hook, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. So you can see that we're working the opposite color on top now because the last 2 rows completed a full square. So each time you complete a full square, you want to make sure the next row is going to start with the opposite color. So on the 5th double crochet, I'm going to stop when I have 2 loops remaining, drop the green yarn, and pick up the white yarn, tighten this a bit, and with the white yarn we'll yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. So we've worked green on top of the white square, and now we're going to work white on top of the green square. In the 5th stitch, we'll switch back to our green color. So work a regular double crochet, drop the white yarn when you have 2 loops left, pick up the green yarn, yarn over and pull through the 2 white loops on the hook. So we'll repeat the same pattern until we reach the end of the row. So when you reach the end of row 3, we're not going to change color since this is the half square row or the odd number row. So keep the same color and then we'll start the next row with that same color. I'm at the last square of the row, so I'm working the last few double crochets in my white color. And when we reach the 5th stitch, we're going to keep the same color because this is an odd number row. So on your 5th double crochet, we're not going to do the color change. So do a regular double crochet in the white color. And to start the new row, we will chain 2. Turn your work. And for this row, we're going to work the same color on top because we want to finish the square so that we have a full square. So we're working this row with the same color on top of each square. So I'm doing white on top of white. And in the 5th stitch, we're going to swap colors back to the green. So we'll yarn over and work our last double crochet, remembering to stop after there's 2 loops remaining. Drop the white yarn, pick up the green, and yarn over, pull through the 2 white loops on the hook. We're going to repeat this pattern until we reach the width of the base that we want, and we're going to make sure that we end on an even number row so that we have a full square instead of just a half square. So after this row, I'm going to stop and then show you how we're going to work the bag in the rounds. I finished the base of the bag and I stopped after 2 squares width. And you can keep adding more squares for a bigger bag, but now we're going to be working in the rounds instead of rows. So I'll show you how we're going to work the first round of the body. So you can see I've already changed colors because it was an even number row. And to start every new round, we're going to chain 2, turn your work, and the start of this round is going to be the same as a regular row. So we're just going to work all the way until the end, doing the opposite color on the top. So I'm working my white square on top of the green square. And on the 5th stitch, we're going to switch to our green color. So yarn over with the green and pull through the 2 white loops on the hook. After working across the top, we're going to switch colors at the end of this row. So I'll show you why in a second. So I switched to white in the last stitch. So we've gone across the top and we're going to rotate our work and work along the sides. So we're going to add a square to the side of each square. And for the sides, we're not going to do the opposite color. So for each side, we're going to keep the same color so that we can continue the pattern. So first I'm going to work a double crochet into the side of this green row. And there's no perfect stitches to work into. I'm just inserting my hook into that little space. So that's the first double crochet. And the next double crochet, I'm going to work right here into this space on the white row. So this is 2 double crochets. And I'm gonna go into the space next to that and work my 3rd double crochet in the white. And because there's not many stitches along the side, I'm just gonna work a double crochet in that same space that I worked into. So now we should have 4 double crochets, and the last one, we're going to switch colors. So work a regular double crochet and then drop the white yarn, pick up the green yarn, and pull through the last 2 loops on the hook. So this is my 5 double crochets in the white, and now we're going to do 5 double crochets in the green. So this is the first double crochet, and I'll work into that same space. And if you move a little further left, we can insert a 3rd one right here. Here's the 4th one into this space. And in the 5th stitch, we're going to change colors. So right here, we're going to do our last double crochet. Then we'll drop the green yarn, pick up the white yarn, tighten this, and we'll yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So now the side looks like this, and we're going to rotate our work again to work on the bottom of the base. So my first double crochet I'm going to do in this top right corner. So we'll go into that space, making sure we're picking up the other yarn color, and we'll do a double crochet. And you can see that these are all chains from the very beginning. So we're going to repeat the same pattern of doing 5 double crochets in one color and switching on the 5th double crochet to the 2nd color. So I'm working my white on top of the green right now. And in the final stitch, I'll work a double crochet and switch back to the green yarn. So I'll drop the white and pick up the green yarn, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. So we're going to repeat doing 4 stitches in one color and then changing colors in the 5th stitch. And we'll continue working along the bottom, then rotate to work the side of the base. So I made it to the end of the bottom of the base, and we're going to work our last double crochet, and we will switch colors to the white because when we work the side of the base, we're going to do the same colors on top of the squares. So I'm switching to white, and I'm going to rotate my work, and we want to have 5 double crochets in white. So we'll work our first double crochet in the space right here. So I'm working the first one in white, and I'll do 4 more double crochets on top of this square. So that's the 2nd one, the 3rd one. You can tighten this, and we'll work our 4th one to the left right here. And when we reach the 5th stitch, we're going to work a double crochet and change back to our green color. So we'll stop when we have 2 loops remaining on the hook, drop the white yarn, pick up the green yarn, yarn over and pull through the 2 white loops. So I did white on top of white, and now I'm going to do the green on top of the green. So we'll do 5 double crochets in the green color, and when we reach the last stitch, we're not going to change colors because we're treating this as an odd number row since these are half squares along the side. So we'll do the last double crochet in the same color. Then at the end of every round, we're going to slip stitch to close the round. So I'm bringing my white strand of yarn in the inside of my work like this. And then I will slip stitch into the first stitch of the round, which is right here. So we'll pull through both loops on the hook and tighten that stitch. To start every new round, we're going to chain 2. And we'll turn our work. And now we're just going to work the same color on top of the round before. So we have the green color on top of the green, and don't forget to carry your yarn as well. So we'll work 5 double crochets in that green, and we'll be changing colors on every 5th stitch. So now I'll be changing back to the white yarn. So I'll drop the green yarn and tighten, and yarn over, pull through the 2 green loops on the hook. We'll continue to work all the way around the base, and I'll meet you back when we slip stitch at the very end. I'm at the end of the round, and I already brought the white yarn inside my work. And now we'll slip stitch to the first stitch, and we'll chain 2, turn your work, and repeat the same pattern again. So now we're working in the green yarn on top of the white because we finished a full square in the last 2 rounds. So we'll continue working rounds of the bag all the way up, and remember to switch colors only after an even number round or when you complete a full square in one color. And we'll pull the yarn we're not working with over to the front, then slip stitch before we start our new round. So I've reached the height of the bag that I want before starting the straps. So after the 2 rows of squares in my base, I did 10 rows of squares for the body, and you can add more rows if you want a longer bag. So now we're going to start working on the straps. The straps are going to start here and work up at a 45 degrees angle like this, and then we're going to add more length and curve it in. To start the straps, we will bring the white yarn inside and slip stitch to close off our last round. I'm going to fasten off because we're going to start our straps in the middle and not at the edge, so we need to cut off this yarn. So first I will cut off the green yarn about this length, and the white yarn I will leave that as it is. So just pull that through and tighten. If you followed the same base that I did, you should have a total of 12 squares from left to right. And you also want to make sure the bag is facing the outside or the correct side that you're going to use it. So flip it to the side that you prefer before you start to work on the straps. So I'm going to leave mine alone and going to count to the middle of the 12 squares. So at these 2 squares, we're going to add stitch markers. So I'll add it to the first stitch of that green square, and we'll do the last stitch of this white square. So I added 2 stitch markers to the middle squares, and we're going to repeat the same thing on the opposite side. So I'll add a stitch marker to that first white square and the last stitch of the green square. So this is what it should look like. And now that we've marked it, we're going to make 1 strap on the right and 1 on the left, and they're going to connect at the top. I'm going to start with the left strap first, so I'm going to attach my yarn to that green square in the back because we ended our last round on the outside. So I'm going to attach the green yarn to that square, And we're going to be working rounds from this point to this point. So we're going to be attaching our green yarn since the square to the left of the stitch marker is white. So we'll make a slip knot first. And instead of tightening the knot, we're going to insert our finger into that knot. Then taking this knot, we're going to grab our crochet hook, insert it into the first white stitch of the square, and after inserting your hook, we're going to place the loop back on the crochet hook, tighten around it, and pull that through the first stitch. So now that our green yarn is attached, we're going to work on the square as normal. So we'll chain 2. At the start of every round and end, we're going to work decrease rounds to form the shape of our strap. So first, I'm going to double crochet into the same stitch that my chain 2 is coming out of, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to yarn over and insert my crochet hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and one more time I'm going to insert my crochet hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and you should have 4 loops remaining on your hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook. So what we did there is called a double crochet 3 together, and that will be our first decrease. And then we're going to do a regular double crochet in the next 2 stitches of the square. So that is 1, and in the last stitch of that square, I'm going to do a double crochet, and I'm going to switch colors now. So I'll drop the green yarn, and we're going to reattach our white yarn by looping it onto the hook and pulling it through the 2 loops. Then you can tighten it so that it's secure. And now we're going to work our white stitches on top of the green square. So we're going to do regular double crochets. So we'll do 5 double crochets in the white and switch over to our green color. So that's the first one. And remember to carry over the opposite color of the yarn as you're working on your stitches so that you don't leave it behind. So this is 3. This is my 4th double crochet. And now in the 5th stitch, I'm going to do a regular double crochet and switch colors by dropping the white, grabbing my green yarn, and pulling through both loops on the hook. We're going to continue this pattern around until we reach the last square right next to the stitch marker. So I've reached the square before the stitch marker, and I've worked my way around, and now I'm going to decrease on that last square. So I've changed colors to my white. First, we're going to work a double crochet in the first 2 stitches of the square. So this is my first double crochet, and we'll do a second double crochet in the next stitch. Now we're going to double crochet 3 together in the last 3 stitches. So we'll yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, insert the crochet hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert the crochet hook into the last stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and you should have 4 loops remaining on the hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on the hook. And because we're working on the straps, we're never going to change colors at the end of the row. So now this is our first round done. And for the next round, we're going to work in the opposite direction. So we'll chain 2 to start the next round, turn your work. And each time you start a new round, you want to make sure that the yarn that we're not using, so this green strand, for example, we want to position it in the inside of our bag so that it doesn't stick out later on as we're working on our straps. So just pull this yarn to the inside of the bag, and to start the next round, we're going to decrease by working a double crochet 3 together in the first 3 stitches. So we'll yarn over, insert into the first stitch, and make sure that the green yarn is over your hook. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert your crochet hook in the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, insert into the last stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and you should have 4 loops remaining on your hook. And now we're going to drop the white yarn and change colors back to our green yarn. So we'll drop this yarn in the back, pick up the green yarn, and yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. And we'll work this row as normal until we reach the last square of the row. So I'm working my double crochets on top of the green square to make it a full-size square. And on the last double crochet, we will switch colors as we've been doing. So in that 5th stitch, we'll switch over to our white yarn. And we're going to continue this pattern until we reach the last square of the row. When you reach the last square of the row, we're going to do a double crochet 3 together. So we'll yarn over, insert into the first stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, insert into the last stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through all 4 loops on the hook. To start the next round, we'll chain 2, turn your work, and make sure the yarn you're not using is pulled inside of the bag. So I'm taking the white and pulling it to the front here. And for this round, we're going to start by skipping over that green stitch right here, and we're going to work into the white square. So I'll start by doing a double crochet 3 together. Yarn over, pull through all 4 loops on the hook. And in the remaining 2 stitches of the white, we're going to do a double crochet. So this is my first double crochet and the second one in the last stitch. And we're going to drop our green yarn when we have 2 loops left and switch over to the white. So we'll continue to change colors as normal every 5th stitch until we reach the last square of the row. So I stopped right before the last square of the row, and I'm going to do a double crochet in the first 2 stitches. So that's the first double crochet, and this is the second double crochet. And instead of double crocheting 3 together, we're going to double crochet 4 together, because we still have this white stitch here, so it's the exact same, except we're just going to do 1 more stitch. So we'll yarn over, pull up a loop, then we'll yarn over, pull through 2, go into the next stitch, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 2. We'll do this 2 more times, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2. And for the last stitch, which is right here, the white stitch, we're going to yarn over, insert our crochet hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2. And now you should have 5 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 5 of the loops. To start row 4, we're going to chain 2 and turn our work, and make sure that the yarn is pulled to the inside. And to start this round, we're going to double crochet 3 together. When we do the last stitch, we're going to switch over to the green yarn. So when you have 4 loops remaining on your hook, we'll drop the white yarn, pick up the green yarn and pull through all 4 of those loops with the green yarn. We'll continue to work our squares as normal, switching colors at every 5th double crochet. At the end of this row, we're going to double crochet 3 together in the last 3 stitches. To start the next row, we're going to chain 2, turn our work, and this row is just going to be a repeat of row 3, so we're going to skip over that first stitch, that's the green one, and work directly into the white square. So I'm going to skip that one and work a double crochet 3 together in the first 3 stitches. Then we'll do a double crochet in the last 2 stitches of the white. And we're going to switch colors on this last one. So we'll drop the green yarn and pick up the white as we've been doing to switch the color. So repeat this pattern until you reach the last square of the row. At the last square of the row, we're going to double crochet in the first 2 stitches. And like we did before, we're going to double crochet 4 together. So every time we have that extra stitch on the end in the other color, we're just going to double crochet 4 together. And we'll continue repeating those last 2 rows and keep decreasing either end of the row until we reach the size of the strap that we want. So I'm finishing off this row and I'm just going to keep going until I have a strap that's around 2 squares wide. So it should keep decreasing in size, and I'll meet you back when we have done a total of 8 rows for the strap. I've done a total of 8 rows for my strap, and remember each square represents 2 rows. So if we look at the top here, we should have 2 full squares remaining. And for the rest of the strap, we're no longer going to decrease, but instead we're just going to work our color changes on top of these squares. So to start the next row, we're going to chain 2, turn your work, and I'm going to bring the white yarn to the front. What I'll do is skip over that first stitch and work directly into the white square. So I'm going to do a double crochet in each of the stitches until we reach the 5th stitch of the square. So on my 5th square, I'm going to switch colors. So I'll drop the green yarn and pick up the white and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. And now I'm going to work my white on top of the green. And when we reach the last square, instead of changing colors, we're going to do a double crochet 2 together with this green stitch and the last white stitch. So I'll yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, insert into the white stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and with the remaining 3 loops, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So that helps remove the extra stitch so that we have the correct number of stitches for each square. So to start the next row, we'll chain 2 and turn our work. And I'm going to work 5 double crochets in the white, and on the last stitch, we'll change colors back to green. So drop the white yarn and pick up the green yarn, pull through both loops on the hook. And we'll continue this pattern until the end of the row. Because we completed a full square, we're going to change colors at the end of the row. And we're going to continue this pattern for these 2 squares until we build up the height of the strap. So you can see that we've already stopped decreasing and we're just working straight up to build the rest of our strap. And we're going to stop adding rows to the strap when it starts to arch over halfway like this. And when we work on the other strap, it's going to meet at that middle point. So I did 6 rows for that strap with no decreases, and now we're going to start working on the other side. So the other side will just mirror the work that we just did, and it's going to arch up and meet halfway, and then we'll sew the strap together. And I'd recommend keeping the strap pretty short so that it won't stretch out too much. If you make it longer and put heavy things in the bag, it might stretch out. So 6 rows is a pretty good length for the strap. Before we get started on the second strap, we're going to fasten off the first strap. So we just snip the yarn, leaving a pretty long tail that we can use to sew the straps together. So I'll pull that through and tighten. To start the second strap, we're going to attach our yarn the way we did with our first strap. So I'll first turn my bag over like this, and I'm going to work in the inside. So I'm going to attach my green yarn to this white square. So take your green yarn and create a slip knot. And leave a little space in the loop to insert your finger. Grab your crochet hook, insert it into the first stitch. We'll put the loop back on our hook, then tighten the yarn around the hook and pull it through the first stitch. We'll start by chaining 2. And we're going to repeat the same pattern that we did on the other side for this strap. So if you need any help, I'll add the first strap as a reference in the timestamps below. When you finish your second strap, you can fasten off with regular loose ends. So just snip the yarn and pull it through to tighten. I'll do the same thing with my other color. I'm going to cut this off. And before sewing the straps together, you can remove the stitch markers if you haven't done so already. The final part of the tote will be to sew the straps together. So grab your yarn needle or sewing needle, and we're going to line up both of the straps so that the squares are on top of each other like this. And I'm going to take one of the strands that I fastened off with and thread that into the needle. So first I'm going to connect the corners. So insert your yarn needle to the square on the other end and pull through to connect them. And I'm weaving my yarn in and out, picking up both strands as I connect the straps together. So I'm going from one side to the other and pulling through to tighten. So just keep weaving in and out until both ends of the straps are fully connected. And because it's not a perfectly straight edge, I'm going into the side of that last row and inserting my yarn needle on the other end into that loop and pulling through to tighten. So now my straps are fully connected and I'm going to take these loose strands and tie a knot so that it doesn't fall out of place. And for the last part of the project, you can choose to weave in your loose ends, or you can tie a knot and then cut them off. So I'm just hiding the strands the best that I can all the way until the end, and then I'm pulling my yarn through, and whatever's left we can just snip it off, and now it's hidden into our project. I've hidden all my loose ends, and here's the final product. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out my other videos if you're interested in the crochet projects that I've made. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.